Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. You're listening to Off-Brand Horror. I'm Kristin.
And I'm Josh. And we just wanted to start this episode apologizing. Because mainly to our audio listeners, some stuff probably happened on the last episode that you didn't know what was going on. We honestly didn't know what was going on because it was happening live as we were recording this. So just a quick explanation of what happened. You remember the Smiling Man has been on the loose, and we had announced that because a friend of ours had been abducted, and we had some footage of her, and we believe we saw the Smiling Man in that footage. Since then, Cool Josh has been abducted. At the end of the intro on the last episode, in editing is when I saw it. I hadn't heard from him, which is typical for Josh, you know.
He just sends in his intros and we do the rest.
And that's it, you know. We don't even know where he films his stuff at. We saw that the Smiling Man had appeared behind him at the very end of the episode, and you can hear him say, "Who the hell are you?" And that's who he was talking to. The Smiling Man had appeared behind him. Later on in the episode, the Smiling Man, I guess he's a sicko, and he set a camera up, and you could see that he had Cool Josh tied to a chair. And that came up during our intermission. So if you heard some mumbling and screaming and stuff during the intermission, that's what that was. And then at the very end of the episode, we saw the very disturbing footage of Cool Josh laid out right next to that chair he was tied to, with what looked to be a smiley face carved into his back. We don't know if he's alive. We're going to be honest. We don't know. We've got people out looking for him. The show must go on. It's Halloween after all. We're trying to do our Halloween episodes for October. This is supposed to be a fun time for some fun spooks and just having a good time with our stories and stuff like that. And we didn't expect the Smiling Man to come along and do this to us. But we have faith we're going to find Cool Josh. He will be alive. The Smiling Man will be sent back to hell or wherever it is he came from. So the show must go on. With that being said, let's get into the episode.
Today's episode is the Black-Eyed Children.
Yeah, I felt like this would be a good topic because in the Halloween spirit, there's never a better time for a freaking black-eyed child to show up knocking at your door and get accepted in your house than Halloween night when they're trick-or-treating.
So be very afraid if you're handing out candy this year.
So for those listening who don't know what the Black-Eyed Children even are you going to give us a synopsis of what exactly they are and where they came from before you get into your stories?
Yeah, before I get into my story, here's a little overview. So I think the Black-Eyed Children are classified as an urban legend, but it's a little unique than most of them because the person, like the first account was, I believe, in the 90s, and the person is known, like the first-hand account. So his name is Brian Bethel, and he's from Abilene, Texas. And so one day he was in his car writing out a check to pay some bills, and these two children came up to his car, and they had like pale skin, black eyes, and they were asking for a ride to get into his car because they were lost or they needed a ride home or something. So yeah, and it really spooked him. He felt like dread when he was talking to them and very afraid. But yeah, so.
And so that was the first known account of the Black-Eyed Children.
Yes.
And then it just spread rapidly. Everyone was claiming that they were seeing these creatures.
Correct.
And
I believe the next reported one was in like Oregon.
Okay. Just a heads up for those listening, we did do a full episode on our old podcast, Terrorform Podcast, which is still available on YouTube, Spotify, everywhere else, that we did with two friends of ours, Donnie and Aaron. If you want to go listen to that, you can. If not, that's fine too. but it was us getting into the beginnings of the black-eyed children and a more detailed explanation of what they are.
Yeah.
Today we just wanted to tell some stories about the black-eyed children because one of the things that is very important to know is the black-eyed children very commonly come knocking at your door, and they need to be invited in. So they're like vampires almost, which is weird because they want to be invited in, but they're very persistent.
Mm-hmm. They claim that they need help. They want to call a parent or, something along those lines to try to get you to let them in their house or in your house.
That's a common one, right? Like,
or
I need
vehicle.
To use a phone. I need to use a phone.
Mm-hmm.
And so they want to be invited in. And so that's why we had the idea, oh man, you have kids ringing your doorbell all the time on Halloween night. And can you imagine you just trick or treat all night long? One day one of them shows up with black eyes, not a red flag on Halloween night.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, hey, I need to be invited in. Can I use your phone because my mommy left me? She drove away or something. I
be
would
hard
fall
to say
for
no.
it so hard on Halloween. It's different if it's the middle of the night on a random night and there's a little kid with black eyes.
It's
like,
perfect
no, this
Halloween
is
monster.
This is a setup. Yes, if this thing came knocking, if a kid came knocking on Halloween night, trick-or-treating all day long, and said, hey, my mommy left me, I would, come on in, buddy.
And it'd be kind of hard to believe that a young child would be wearing sclera contacts.
That's true, too.
But I'm pretty sure it's possible, too.
Yeah, it is possible.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, they get invited in. They have black eyes. It's small children who are already just so creepy. Kids are just creepy. Yeah, let's get into your story. I'm curious what you found. There's so many stories out there you can find.
Mm-hmm. I specifically found a Halloween one.
Oh, looky there.
For the season.
For the season here, because we are 20 days away, people. 20 days away from Halloween. Right here you see on our black cat with the pumpkin on our table for the audio listeners. We're letting you know 20 days away. 20 days.
All right, so this is from Sarah Beth 11.
Sarah Beth 11. Is this a Redditor?
Yeah, so it's posted on Reddit, but I'm not sure which subreddit because I found like a list of stories like gathered from across the web.
So we'll just post that article. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I was just going to say Sarah Beth 11 is the most normal name we've heard.
Yeah.
We've been talking about the names like Trill Unicorn and stuff like that.
Was it Bing Bong 1 2 3?
Bing Bong was our first episode, Story of the Whistler.
I don't believe in the paranormal, ghosts, demons, aliens, whatever. However, I did have an event happen to me this Halloween I have to admit has me scratching my head. So it had been a slow trick-or-treat night in our neighborhood, which is pretty odd in itself. We usually have kids from different areas dropped off in ours and have a constant parade at our door. That night, I'd say we had no more than 8 or 10 groups of kids come by the entire night. It was about 9:30 p.m., and my husband and I were sitting in our family room watching some of those ghost shows based on supposedly true events. Like I said, I don't believe in that stuff, but I do like a good ghost story now and then, and it was Halloween and all. We hadn't had any activity at the door in over half an hour, and it was getting late, so we decided to turn the porch light off and let our bulldog Chloe out of her crate, which is funny.
Your mom has a bulldog named Chloe.
Is she Sarah Beth 11?
Put it. Come forward.
We only put her in her crate because we were afraid she'd try to get out and play with all the kids, and I didn't want to have to chase after her down the street. Also, we didn't want her to scare any of the kids because she would look a little intimidating to the younger kids. And yeah, bulldogs be looking funky. Mm-hmm. So I turned the outside light off, let Chloe out, and she followed me back to the couch and laid down at my feet. It was getting close to 10 p.m. when my husband decided he'd had enough fun for the night and was going upstairs to take a shower and get ready for bed. After all, it was Thursday and he still had to get up early the next day. My teenage son was out with his friends at a local haunted house and wasn't expected back for another hour or so that left me alone on the couch with Chloe.
It's your mom. It sounds so much
I
like
know.
your mom.
That's kind of what I imagined. It wasn't long after I heard the upstairs water for the shower turn on when there came a light knock, knock, knock at the front door. My initial reaction was, what the hell, really? It's almost 10, go home. But soon an uneasy feeling came over me. Why the knock? Our doorbell glows in the dark, and without the porch light, it'd be extra obvious to anyone there. I paused. I couldn't really just ignore it. Our front door has a big beveled glass panel, and anybody right at the door could see in enough to see someone was in the family room watching TV. It would be pretty rude for me to just sit there and not answer it. Knock, knock, knock. Again from the door. I glanced down at Chloe, and she was gone. My gaze followed her usual path to the front door, expecting her to be there. Nothing. She wasn't there. I stood up to look around the room better and found her crouching by the back door. This was totally out of character for her, and I have to say heightened my anxiety. "Chloe, crate," I said. She just turned back to look at me like, "Hell no, lady, I ain't moving." I yelled up to my husband, but if he was already in the shower, I knew there was no chance of him hearing me. Knock, knock, knock. About that time, a car drove down our street and cast just enough light on the door to where I could see the silhouettes of two small children through the glass. I instantly felt relief. It was just some kids, probably a couple of my neighbors on their way back home that wanted to stop by and show me their costume or something. I headed to the door and looked back to make sure Chloe wasn't going to follow. She just sat there. So already the dog knows something is up. I turned on the porch light when I got to the door, and sure enough, I could see through the glass that it was a couple of pretty small kids. A little late for such young ones, I thought, and I began to wonder about what kind of parents would let their kids run the streets that late at night. I only opened the door enough to where I could block Chloe if she tried to escape, which was only about 2 feet. What struck me immediately as odd was the kids weren't wearing any costumes. They were in normal street clothes. Also, no customary trick-or-treat either. I began to feel very uneasy again. It was a girl and a boy. The girl to my left was older, I'd say about 11 or 12. I could tell she was blonde, but I couldn't make out any distinct features as our lights are from high above and on columns at the front of the porch, so most of the light was coming from behind them. I had not opened the door wide enough for any light from inside to hit them directly. The boy was younger and about a foot shorter, I'd say 8 or 9, and looked to have light brown hair. The girl very politely spoke up. "Ma'am, can we please come inside and use your phone to call our mom?" As she spoke, something in the pit of my stomach was telling me something was wrong. What kid, even at that age, doesn't have a cell phone of their own these days? I couldn't remember the last time I had anybody ask to use my home phone. Hun, don't you have a phone of your own you can call your mom on?" I asked. This was when things got really weird. Both kids turned to look at one another like they were going to say something to one another, but neither ever spoke. They both turned back to me, and the girl said, "Ma'am, my cell phone battery doesn't have any charge left in it. Can we please come inside and call our mother? We're alone out here, and my brother is scared." I have to admit, there were two competing feelings going on inside me. The first, that of a mother's heart that wanted to help these two small children get to their mom. The other, a sinking fear in my gut that was keeping the other feeling at bay. It was then I noticed that during the short conversation, I'd already opened the door a few extra inches, which I was completely unaware of. I stopped. "Honey, why don't you give me your mother's number and I can call her myself?" Another pause, and they again looked at one another. After a short moment, they turned back to me, and the girl said, "Ma'am, my little brother has to use your bathroom. Can we please come inside while you call our mom?"
So the story has changed. You
I
went
know.
in this house.
If anything, these kids, like the black-eyed children story, the kids are persistent.
Yeah.
And with the last statement, the little girl moved closer toward the door like she was just going to walk in. As she did, she stepped into the light coming from inside the house, and I got my first real good look at her. Solid, jet black eyes. That's all I could see. That motherly instinct was gone and replaced by terror I don't think I've ever felt in my life. I could feel every hair on my arms and back of my neck standing at attention. I closed the door to where just my face was able to stick out. The little girl stopped. I would have closed the door all the way. The little girl stopped and again pleaded, "Please, ma'am, we're really scared and alone out here. We have to come inside. Please help us." Then, like on cue, both kids began to whimper and cry.
Whimper and cry.
Really laying on the guilt. They trying hard to get in that house.
Yeah.
So you got 2 kids with black eyes just whimpering and crying at your front door.
No, thank you.
That's when the fear took over, and I shut and locked the door. "I'll call your mom if you give me the number," I shouted through the door, "but I'm not letting you in my house." I could still see them stand there on the porch, just staring at me through the beveled glass pane. Part of me wanted to run upstairs to my husband, but the bigger part didn't want to lose track of where they were. That would have freaked me out even more, not knowing where they were. After what seemed like forever, but probably only a few seconds, I decided I'd call my neighbor that lived across the street. As I did, I walked to the door to get a better look to see where they went, still not calling my neighbor. If you get close enough to the glass, you can see out enough to make out people's shape, but you can't see much detail. Of course, standing that close to the door would make you pretty obvious to anyone outside looking in. From the door, I could see that the kids were still standing under the street lamp nearest my house, staring at me. As I lifted the phone to my ear after calling, only then did the kids start walking down our street. I met my neighbor out under the lamp once he was out there, but the kids were nowhere to be seen. Like I said, I don't believe in any of this stuff and had never even heard about black-eyed kids before talking to my friend. What I have to think, is these kids were just out yanking people's chains on Halloween night. But I will say this for them. They were good, really good at it. They scared the S out of me and my dog.
I don't know if they were fake. they did pretty good. Little kids wearing scleras, like you said earlier. Like I don't think kids. Which, if you don't know what a sclera is, it's a giant contact that
covers your whole eyeball.
The whole eyeball, so you can make the whole thing black. And they do have those contacts out there. So yeah.
Like the main thing would be like the dog acting off. Like since the dog is acting different, then I'd feel scared too.
Yeah. What the dog doing?
But I'd also feel like so guilty, like being scared of children that are trying to get help.
Yeah. Can I call my mommy? No, you can't, sweetheart. We're gonna. You got your own phone, huh? Turns and looks at her brother without saying anything. Turns back. My brother has to pee. Is that what he told you? I didn't hear him say that. Well, I think that it is time for a commercial break. So we will see you right after these messages.
Hey there, and welcome to Jack Judd Tree Services. Now, what makes us different than other tree services, you may ask? Well, for one, we don't cut down the tree ourselves. Now, keep your hand off that dial now. Now, sometimes trees get cut down by accident. Sometimes they get cut down on purpose. And either you're freaking out because you're covered in blood, or you're wrapping that tree up like a professional. Now, listen, imagine just cutting the tree down and then leaving the rest to us. We will come by, grab that tree, and you can move on with your life and never think about it again. Follow me this way now. Come on. Now, what better time than Halloween to take a body and leave it sitting on your front porch, right? To where no one will even think about it because they'll think it's just a Halloween decoration. Now, shit, did I say bot? Now, what better time to chop down a tree and leave it on your front porch than right here at Halloween, because people just think you're getting ready for Christmas, right? And then we show up, we grab that tree, and you tell them you were wanting to exchange it. And look, here at Jack Judd's, we dispose of bodies.
Jack Judd Tree Services. You chop them down, we pick them up.
Yeah, everything I said, body, got it, mother. You can fix that in editing, right?
All right, welcome back to Off-Brand Horror. We just finished listening to a story about the black-eyed children on Halloween night from Kristin, and I wanted to see if I could find any new black-eyed children stories as well, and this is what I found. So, on the paranormal subreddit, r/paranormal on Reddit, 4 years ago, a deleted user posted, "Does anybody have any legitimate black-eyed children encounters or know of any Reddit posts regarding them?" So I'm just going to read a couple of the comments, some of the quick ones that were pretty creepy. So Bailey Diane says, I had a real encounter. I was working in an office that did mainly business-to-business sales and rentals. Since we weren't in a great part of town and we weren't exactly open to the public, I kept the door to our office locked. The only way to work the lock was with a key from either side. I had stepped outside to go on a sales call. We had tint on our door that allowed me to see out, but was mirror tint from the outside. I tended to look out before leaving because it was a rough area and I was a young female working alone. This was about 12 years ago, so I was in my mid-20s. I looked out and there were 2 young men walking about a block from me. No big deal. I could easily be safely to my car before they reached where I was. Before I know it, the kids, both looked around 15-ish, were much closer than they should have been, like they had walked a city block in a split second. My flight or fight kicked in. I had no reason to be afraid, but I felt a deep fear. So I went back inside and locked the door from the inside. I'm not even sure how to describe the fear I felt that led me to rush back inside. These kids started banging on the door. Only one of the 2 spoke. He said, "We need a phone. Let us in." I yelled no through the door. He kept banging on my glass door so hard that it was vibrating. I threatened to call the cops. They kept banging and begging to use the phone. I finally got brave enough to get a better look at them so I could give a description to the police, and their eyes were pitch black. I'm not super religious, but I yelled, "In the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to leave."
Everybody goes to Jesus when they scared.
And they disappeared. They just vanished. I had never heard of the black-eyed kids phenomenon before this event. What are these things? Are they demons? Are they aliens?
I think
It
they're
seems
energy vampires.
Energy.
Yeah, could you never hear of anybody like dying
They're Colin
from...
Robinson.
Yeah, but spooky.
Yeah, they...
Because everybody like describes fear, and
Yes, that's what I was about to say.
the few stories I've seen where people say like they would let them in, or at least didn't have something between them, they got really tired.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Weird. I mean, that's like my story of the Hat Man. I felt impending doom, basically. So I feel like that's what they mean. It's like an impending doom that they feel.
Yeah.
So another story is from Cinnamon Peaches 13.
Cinnamon Peaches.
There's those Reddit names. I am not entirely sure if who/what I saw was a black-eyed child, but it scared the crap out of me either way. I live in a village. It's considered a village by size. I had my door open to my apartment one summer evening, sweeping my kitchen floor, when all of a sudden I heard someone at the screen door. I looked over to see a kid, maybe 11 to 12 years old. I couldn't see his face in the dark. For some reason, I was filled with terror, covered in chills. This was just a kid though, right? "Can I come in?" he asked. "No, I don't know you." He then proceeds to introduce himself, and I was so terrified I can't even recall his name. Then he says, "Now you know me. Can I come in?" That's like freaking Pennywise on It. "Pennywise, meet Georgie. Georgie, meet Pennywise. Now we know each other." Again, I tell him no, and he's very persistent on entering my home and wondering why he can't come in. I ended up shutting the door on him and doing a lockdown of the apartment. No idea to this day who that kid was. So
Poor kids. Like, if these are,
just kids. "Can you help me out?" Go screw yourself, kid.
Oh.
We have the internet. We know what black-eyed kids are now. Oh yeah, this one was weird. Harmonic Content is the name of this user. I once worked at a department store as a warehouse/stalker guy. One night I was on a ladder and I saw this girl. She looked like she was in her 20s, but she dressed like a little girl. She had blonde pigtails and a pink dress with a lacy tutu-like pink bottom on it. She was leading this old woman around the store, begging for candy and toys, much like a small child would.
This is really weird.
Yeah, that's why I said this is a weird one. I thought it was odd, and I was just watching from 10 feet above them. He's on this ladder just looking down like, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing right now? The old woman was not responding and just seemed dazed as this girl was throwing things in the cart and laughing. The girl turned and made eye contact with me, and I have never been more frightened in my life. Her eyes were blacked out, like blackout contact style, so it looked like she had scleras on. She kind of snarled at me and laughed. It was terrifying. I got down that ladder in record time and went to my warehouse terrified and told my coworkers. They laughed at me and went looking for the duo and could not find them anywhere. They thought maybe it was a weird kink or something that these two were playing out. The cashier said they saw the old woman buying all the candies and toys, but that there was no girl with her. That's a creepy one, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Like, is this woman kind of like being like possessed by it, and he saw the entity?
Yeah. Looks like a 20-year-old girl dressed like a little girl. That's weird. With black eyes.
Yeah.
That's so strange.
It's almost maybe creepier that an adult would be dressing as a child. And
I know. I don't understand. How's there a... Yeah.
And it could be a kink thing.
Okay, and this was the last one I wanted to read just because it's really creepy. It's not a black-eyed child. It's from a deleted user. But they say, I had an ex who, when he was very pissed, had his eyes turn corner to corner black. I swear to God, I saw this happen sober. He was extremely controlling and abusive, and when I saw that, I realized I needed to leave. I somehow knew that if I stayed, he would kill me.
Yeah, that's...
It's like, you with a demon, girl.
Yeah.
You with a demon.
And it's like when he gets mad. Ooh.
Yeah. Really, really creepy. Really creepy. Well, I think it's time right now for us to go to a weather break with Krystal Weather. So, Krystal, go ahead and take it away for us.
Thank you, Josh. This week will be a little gloomy. The days are getting shorter, and we will have cloudy skies and scattered storms all week. You will feel like you're being completely consumed with despair. Your thoughts will darken. Can you keep living like this? How much more can you take? But don't worry, it is just the season. You'll be fine. And don't forget, Halloween is right around the corner. I hope all of you are ready for spooks and trick-or-treating. That is all. Back to you.
All right, Krystal, we appreciate it. Do we have a commercial break to go to, Kristin?
Yes.
We do have one? Okay. All right. I was thinking because... Yeah, we do. Whoa, where'd Krystal go? That girl left the room quick.
Guess she had somewhere to be.
I guess so. Well, let's go ahead and go to that last commercial break, and we'll see you right after that. Halloween Ends may be the end of the Michael Myers movie franchise, but stalkers like him are all too real. 1.3% of people aged 16 or older are being stalked right now. Stalking may include following a person, driving by a victim's place of employment or school, sending unwanted gifts, cards, or emails, persistently calling or text messaging, and more. Sometimes they will stop at stalking, and sometimes it will take a much darker turn.
God damn it, now. Charles, grab the goddamn legs, Charles.
Jack Judd Tree Services. You chop them down, we pick them up.
If you are being stalked, you should call your local authorities, and then once you're comfortable telling your story, you can call us at 858-215-4455 and tell us your traumatic stalker stories so that we can tell it on Off-Brand Horror for the entertainment of others. That's right, deflect your pain by pretending it's not there and telling it to others in an entertaining voicemail or text message at 858-215-4455. And if you feel in your heart that you want to donate to me, then you should know that I have the power to absolve you of all sin. A donation would mean that I have more time to pray that a stalker never follows you. Now my prayers mean a little bit more than other people's to the Lord. Call now. Alright, welcome back to Off-Brand Horror. Very special episode. It is October, so we're trying to make sure we have plenty of spooks to get to.
And we hope we're getting y'all in the spooky spirit.
In that spooky spirit. And right now we have a special segment that I like to call, since you assholes won't call us. And
this is news to me.
we've had one call. But, yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. We honestly didn't expect to get a lot of calls. But if you would like to call us at 858-215-4455 or text us at that number, tell us your spooky stories and we will tell it on air. But we have this new segment that I will do occasionally where I'm going to you. I'm going to people and getting their scary stories. And the first one is from my sister, Jessica. I went over and visited with her, and we are going to cut to that footage right now. Josh here with Off-Brand Horror, and I'm sitting here with Jessica, and I'm going around asking people in the spirit of Halloween if they believe in ghosts. So, Jessica, do you believe in ghosts?
I do.
You do? Have you ever seen a ghost?
Yes, I have. Okay, so it was probably like 2005 or 2004, I want to say. So me and my mom and my sister, older sister, were at home, and we lived in like a multi-level 2-story. So basically my room was in one corner, and like across the hall you could see into the other room if both the doors were open. And so everybody in the house had already seen this man dressed in all black from head to toe, and I hadn't seen him. So I was laying in bed and I could see into the other room, and it was like probably like 7 p.m. So it was like starting to get dark, and from the corner of my eye I could see somebody standing in the corner across the hall staring at me, and I was like, I'm not even gonna look because I could see that it was all black. And so when I did look, it was gone. And then so like probably a week later, I'm sitting in my bed again with my door open, and I just see an all black figure go past my door. And so yeah.
So all you could tell was that it was wearing all black, just like a black cloak, like a hood and stuff?
No, like black colored denim and a black shirt. Like an actual person. It was a person.
Oh, God. And yet y'all didn't see, like, it was never confirmed it was a person. So you think this was a ghost?
I mean, there was definitely nobody living in the house besides me at this time.
All right. Yeah, that's spooky. And you said that other people can attest to this too, like they saw it too?
Yeah, so like a month before I saw the first time, my mom was downstairs washing clothes in the little laundry area, and someone walked behind her, and when she turned around, all she caught was the black clothing, and it was a Caucasian person, like, but you could never see their face.
Yeah. Where did they wear a hat? Do you remember?
I didn't notice a hat.
Okay. I'm just trying to narrow it down because there's a couple different supernatural beings that a lot of people see a lot. One being the Hat Man, and he's in like all black and wears like a black top hat. Then, of course, there's the Smiling Man that smiles ear to ear. Yeah, that's creepy.
This person just died there.
So you just think it was a person who lived there and died there and was haunting the place, basically.
Yeah, that's what I think.
All right. Fair enough. Alrighty, well, that has been a ghost story with Jessica, and stay tuned to Off-Brand Horror. We will have more of this coming at you. All right, we're here with Karen. Karen, tell us, elaborate Jessica's story about the man in black.
Well, what I saw was I was standing at my washing machine in the house, and from the corner of my eye, I saw somebody walk by, and I heard a noise. So I thought one of the kids came in. I went and looked all over the house. There was no one there. And that's when I knew that they were telling me the truth about something being in that house.
Jessica had mentioned off camera about also confirming seeing it. Do you remember anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, all the kids said that they saw someone in black always standing at the end of their beds at night. Like I said, the only time I saw was I did see somebody walk by, but I couldn't confirm that it was the same thing, but I thought that it had to be.
All right, folks, so you heard it here first. Look out for the man in black.
So yeah, that was it. Pretty spooky. They saw someone in all black, which kind of fits in with our figures in black episode.
And she said he was white. So, like, she saw enough detail, like, their skin.
Yeah, she said this was, like, just a guy. She feels like it was a ghost, like someone who died and just has black clothes on. 'Cause she said it was, like, denim. So it wasn't, like, a cloak or anything like that. It was, like, black pants, black T-shirt, walking around. And you heard my mom at the end there, too, kind of confirm the story and say that, like, she had friends over and stuff like that, and everyone had been talking about seeing this man walk around in black. Jessica said she was one of the last ones to see him because she kept hearing it. She didn't believe it. She didn't believe it was true. She thought everyone was pranking her or seeing things, and like, you know, everyone says they see something and then you start going, oh, I think my guy was in black too, or whatever, you know. But then she said straight up, she saw someone in black clothes walk by her door that should not have been in there.
And the fabric. Mm-hmm. Usually people say, like, shadow, like it's a shadow person,
Yes.
but, like...
No, this was
that's too detailed.
Yeah, white dude in black clothes. So, thank you for that story, Jessica. And thank you, listeners, for listening. If you want to tell us your stories, again, offbrandhorror@gmail.com or call or text 215, I messed that up, 858-215-4455. And we will keep you updated on anything we hear about the Smiling Man. Again, lock your doors. Be safe out there. Cool, Josh. Man, I wish you would have told me where you record the episodes. I would know where to go, at least start looking. But if we have any updates, we will let you know next week on the Smiling Man situation. Until then, take care, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Hey, who's there?
It's just me, Krystal.
Cool, Josh?